same color.
Yeah, that's a,
I'm not used to it. Don't worry.
yeah. Yes, I think so. Connecting.
It's wonderful to see such great turnout tonight, and I hope everyone had a chance to get some pizza and some drinks. And we're really excited to get started. So my name is Tori McIntyre, and I'll be moderating this evening. I wanted to start by reflecting over the past few years how organizations have been so focused on what AI can do. However, today the question has really started to shift, and it's more focused on how do we deploy AI. How do we deploy AI in a way that's trusted by people, deeply embedded in our workflows, and creating real business value that's impactful and measurable? Tonight we have a really fantastic panel of leaders who are going to help us answer just this question. So tonight we're going to hear from each of them on perspectives within their areas of expertise, and then we're going to come together for a panel discussion on what's working well, what's harder than expected, how are they driving trust and adoption, and lastly, where they see the biggest opportunities ahead. We really hope that everyone can leave tonight with some new ideas, new insights, and most importantly, something that you can bring to your teams tomorrow and take action on right away. Alright, before we welcome our speakers, we're going to hear from AGIV Leadership, followed by Invest Ottawa. So, hi, please come forward.
Hey everyone, my name is Hai, so if you're wondering how that is spelled, it's just H-A-I. Forgot my name tag, so I just want to put that out there. So has anyone here been to our original event series, AI Tinkers? Raise your hand. Okay, so we're the same people. So 2023 to 2024, that was when we were trying really hard to get people to start building with LLMs and agents. And now what we're seeing in our industry is that people are having issues moving things from proof of concept to production. And this sentiment was resonated at places like the AI Engineer World's Fair or LangChain Interrupt in places like New York City, San Francisco, and we're seeing that we're working with our customer as well. So that's why we started a new event series called AGIV Industries. So as you look around, people are in the industry. They are either building proof of concepts or trying really hard to move from POC to production. And this spans across go-to-market, marketing, FP&A, accounting, sales, and more. So so talk to everybody in the room. We have curated this room really hard, not using AI. I would strongly suggest that you do that. So we'd like to start our event with, one quick nugget of insight of the month. Has anyone here used Fable or Fable from Anthropic in the last couple days? Okay, you're very lucky because as of like a day or 2 days ago, you cannot do that anymore. And we might be seeing a trend or unprecedented way of countries and governments being able to restrict access to certain models and intelligence, which is called intelligence now. So if your company depends on a certain type of intelligence, you're cooked if that is taken away from you. So there's a couple of ways that we can kind of like mitigate this risk. It is a risk for every single company. In this room right now, I'm sure you're here because you're using the AI somewhere, right? One, you want to think about your harness. So if you're using Claude Code or Codex, those harnesses are the software that wraps around the models and it allows the model to become agentic. And those harnesses work really well with OpenAI and Anthropic models, but not necessarily anything else. So what you can do instead is you can look at open source harnesses or harnesses that are model agnostic. So for example, LangChain's Deep Agent is production ready. Pi Agent, which ships with OpenClaw, or anything like OpenCode or anything that doesn't tie you to one or two providers. So you want to think about that. So own your harness and also own your model. So if you want to take a step further, think about using open source models. So Cohere, one of Canadians' probably only large language model trainer, launched a new small model the same day that Anthropic launched Fable called Cohere North Code Mini. Very small, underperforming, but it's a good thing that they're doing that. We're not talking shit about code here tonight. We are here to encourage that because we need more companies to launch open source models and open weight models. Because with those models, you can fine tune them to do very specific tasks, which means if the API goes down, you don't lose access to the entire thing. And one last thing I want to say is that I want to show off my Aura Ring 5 here. You guys are. Anybody has an Aura Ring? Raise your hand. Okay, those are cool people. You guys are my people. Anyways, not to digress too much, but one last thing, you want to have a LLM gateway or a router, or model router, so that in production, whenever something unstable happens, you can route your requests to something else at runtime. So those are some of the things that I would personally do to mitigate those risks. And if you want to chat more about those things, talk to the people around the room, talk to us from AGI Ventures. And now I want to bring up my co-founder, Chief Ecosystem Officer, Nelda, to talk about our community. So give it up for Nelda.
Hi everyone, so great to see you. I'm Nelda, like Zelda, and I want to ask you all a question. So, raise your hand if you consider yourself an AI champion. Okay. Raise your hand if you are not. Okay. Now raise your hand if you have no idea what an AI champion is. Okay. Don't be shy. Well, an AI champion is someone who builds new things with AI because they want to, and not because they're told to. There's that intrinsic and excited vibe they have and energy that they bring what they learn on their own or through like self-learning programs and education into their work and get so excited to get their other colleagues into it as well. Now, title and seniority doesn't matter when it comes to AI champions. And whether they're generating their own ideas and finding problems they can build, or it does. So, given that definition of an AI champion, raise your hand if you are an AI champion. Come on, we need all of them. There we go. Kind of awkward? I'm just kidding. Now, here's something we understand as well about AI champions. Being an AI champion is a very hard and often lonely road, and especially inside an organization. Like, who can you nerd out to? And what can you talk about? Or what will they understand? So that's what we're hoping to build with this community here at AGI Ventures. We're hoping that these events will be an opportunity for you to find your people in this room, learn how to apply what you learn from our panelists and our speakers immediately as soon as you go back to work. So if you want to join our community online, we have a LinkedIn group you can join, and also a Slack as well. And to the AI champions. May we motivate them, may we inspire them, and may we foster their growth. All right? Okay, moving to Jenna.
I brought notes because I'm just under a month into this new role. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you to AGI Ventures for bringing us together. I'm Shannon Ferguson. I'm the Senior Manager of Early Stage Programs here at Invest Ottawa. So, if you're not familiar with Invest Ottawa, we are the lead economic development agency in Canada's capital. So, we help founders and technology companies build, grow, and scale successful businesses. So through the IO Venture Path, we help entrepreneurs accelerate their journey from idea to scale up. So the Venture Path currently supports more than 600 companies across a wide range of growth stages. Our goal is really simple. It's to meet founders where they are with the right support, resources, expertise, and connections at every stage of their journey. Tonight, I wanted to briefly highlight two programs that are often the entry points into that journey. So it's IO Ignition and IO Flex. Has anyone here heard of these programs? Okay, a couple of you. Awesome. So Ignition is actually our 10-week bootcamp that runs every quarter. So it's designed for founders who have an idea and something that you really want to validate. So through customer discovery, mentorship, practical startup training, these participants really learn how to build a strong foundation for their tech company. And then once the founders go through Ignition, many continue on to Flex, which is more self-directed. It's a support program that provides ongoing access to business resources, expert advisors, some I've seen here tonight, workshops, events, and really the broader innovation community. So it allows founders to really engage at the pace that works for their business while they continue to access those supports and connections that they need to grow. So whether you're exploring a new idea or building your first product or preparing to scale, the IO Venture Path could be really designed to help you take the next step. So there is some more information over on the table where the food is. You can also go to our IO Venture Path website. There's a quiz on there that can help you find what program would be right for you. So it just takes a couple minutes and it can really help you identify the program that would be the best fit. So again, thank you to AGI Ventures, and I look forward to meeting more of you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Nelda and Shannon. It was great to hear from you all. All right, we're going to jump into our speaker portion of the evening. And our first speaker this evening is Andy, Director of Enablement at NAC. Andy has a front row seat to how organizations are leveraging their data today to drive really strategic go-to-market solutions. Now, candidly, I just met Andy about 10 minutes ago, but I am sure that he would be the first to tell you that AI implementations will fail if they're not fed meaningful data. Lots of teams are focusing on the models they're using, the tools they're building, but there needs to be focus on gathering the insights that matter and leveraging those. So tonight, Andy will be talking about how to avoid generic indicators, as well as how to create more impactful AI-powered solutions for go-to-market strategies. So please welcome Andy to the stage.
Yeah, please, that'd be cool. There we go. Perfect. Okay, for you over there. Are these on? Could you turn one of these on for me? I'm a bit of a walker when I talk. Hello? Hello? Oh, perfect. Okay. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. Honestly, it's a real treat. I'm totally nerd out on this stuff, and I'm really happy to be in a room with a lot of folks that probably do a lot of the same stuff that I do, and for that, I'm totally grateful. As I said, or as someone said, my name is Andy, and I'm Director of Enablement at NAC. For those of you that don't know, NAC is a marketing production platform based out of Ottawa. And I want to start off this talk just by, everything that I have ever created with AI or the tools associated has always been born out of frustration. Frustration of either the tool that I'm trying to use to do the thing or the process that I have to follow in order to get the thing that I want to do. And that's where I found myself when I was supporting a large group of sales folks and seeing them time after time going after the same accounts, trying the same thing, and getting the same results, which was not converting or not having the message that they should have in order to convert the account. And it's not just us that was doing that. Our ICP, our total addressable market, whatever you want to call it, we go after companies that are about 1,000 plus people that are based in North America that have marketing automation users. And I can go to ZoomInfo, I can go to all these different companies, and I can say, hey, give me a list of this stuff, and it's pretty easy to do. And everybody else is doing that too. So all of our competitors are going to those same companies, looking for the same data to do the exact same thing. So we need to think a little bit differently. The reframe that I like to think about with being able to convert prospects into customers is to leverage who has actually bought from us before and why did they buy. And I'm not talking about the reason that the salesperson put in our CRM to say, drop down, yes, there was this thing, this is why they converted, and away I go. That's not what I'm looking for. That's not what can help us to get to the point where our message can truly resonate. And so what we can do is look at like what I call my hierarchy of truth, which is like what customers do is the top. What customers say is second level. What salespeople say that customers do is third, and then our CRM is basically the fourth level. It's like, I don't know who put that in there, I don't know how old it is, so like it's kind of might be right, but I can't trust it for sure. And so that's where we begin. You take a look at your own data. You look internally to see what our customers are saying throughout the sales cycle to understand what pains they're exhibiting. But there's two types of pain. There's table stakes where literally everyone has it. It comes up in every single call. I think our top pain was developer dependency, and it was like 87% of all calls showed up that was an issue, that was a pain. And it also showed up in almost all of our closed lost as well. And so you need to look at the differentiation, the converting pain, the stuff that actually makes a difference, so that you can focus on the folks that are here to buy right now, versus those that just decide to do nothing. And if there's any salespeople in the room, you know that the do nothing is like your biggest competitor. So what do? Well, you sort your pain by win rate. So now we're in a place where it makes it so much easier to be able to take a very large amount of data and be able to put it through some analysis to come out on the other side so that you can say, oh, did you know that our top pain point converts about 70% higher than our other pain points? So maybe we should focus our messaging on that pain point versus all the other ones, like developer dependency, where our marketers that we sell to, they rely on HTML developers to get the stuff done that they need to do. But everyone has that, and it doesn't convert. Now, what we found at NAC, when we took a look at our data, we did an analysis on what converts for closed won a heck of a lot better than closed lost. Two main themes popped up: brand fracture and production trap. Brand fracture, you have a bunch of marketing people that are managing a bunch of brands, and they have multiple systems that they have to use in order to send out these emails to these prospects that they want to eventually convert. And in there is a huge amount of frustration. Remember that frustration I was talking about before? Well, everybody feels it in some capacity. And when the frustration is bad enough, people tend to buy. The second, drowning in email production, which means there is a heck of a lot of emails going out. There are developers that are actually hand-coding these emails. There is a lot of work being done to make sure that those campaigns get out the door. And so now we've taken a look at our data, we can understand who converts and why. Cool, what do you do with that? Because I can't go to ZoomInfo and say, give me all of the accounts that feel brand fractured. You can't do that. What you have to do is to be able to infer what would this public footprint look like for this specific pain that I'm trying to convert? And what does that look like in practice? You have to turn each of those pain points into a public signal that you can look at and you can decide, yes, this pain is happening right now for this customer, and this is a very high converting pain that we know our customers buy each and every day. And here's a few examples. A new brand pops up on a subdomain after an acquisition. Different maps, so different marketing automation platforms across those subdomains. Mismatched brand identities in live emails because they're subscribing to their emails and taking a look at them. Or they're rendering incorrectly, just straight up HTML is broken. There's open requisitions for HTML developers. Or you know what, they're sending a heck of a lot of emails. And we know on LinkedIn, they don't have a very large market. And so these are the public signals that you can leverage to be able to tell the story of that pain. Here's an example of one that happened just last week. So anonymized, for the heck of it, a database company recently acquired an AI company. But that's not the important part. The important part is that they just started to bring in-house the email program of that AI company, which means there is a marketing team that is now working multiple brands internally, as well as now they have multiple marketing automation platforms they have to deal with. That is the piece that you're looking for. That is the action that you can take. That is the message that you can send. So now, rather than relying on, I sell to 1,000 people companies in North America that have marketing operations teams, I can now sell to 1,000 people companies in North America with marketing operations teams that also happen to have the pain right now that we know converts with our product. The segment is the message. So rather than relying on putting something fancy together so that you can try to get in the door with these people that don't necessarily care about you, sales knows that, it hurts. You just say the true thing that you know. So rather than saying the generic thing, I'm gonna take a tangent. I'm gonna tell you a little bit of a story. I used to work at Ascent. Anyone know Ascent Compliance it used to be? And I started in 2018, and I was onboarded by Matt Whitaker, the founder, and one of the co-founders. And when he was onboarded me, he did something that was like truly incredible. He would go to our prospects' websites, and also a side note, for those of you that don't know, if you want to ship into Europe and not get held at the border, you should have really great reach and ROS declarations. Okay? So remember that for later. He would go to our prospects' websites and look at these reach and ROS declarations and say, hey, there's some issues here. And then he would write down those issues and he would write an email to the people that care about that at that company and say, you should do something about this. Because if you don't, your shipments will probably get stopped at the border. And that is valuable. Regardless of if that person ever talks to Matt again, that is a valuable piece of information they can use and act on. And so that's how I think about messaging. That the segment is the message. And then you can use an artifact about that message in order to help the conversation. And so what that looks like is this data company that just acquired this AI company that is now wrestling with templates across marketing automation platforms and dealing with brand drift because they can't get it just right between these platforms. Here's a playbook because I know your reality. I know what you do each and every day, and I know what works. And not asking for anything in return. And so the Matt Whitaker special is deposit it before you try to make a withdrawal. So top to bottom, look at Edward, leverage your own data to be able to understand what wins and what doesn't. Find the pain that converts, not the table stakes ones that you hear all the time. The ones that actually matter, the ones that do close business. Turn those things into public signals that you can track on an ongoing basis. Classify not just by your firmographics, but the pain that they exhibit. And then again, the segment is the message. And if you want to try this yourself, you don't have to get crazy on it. Just take closed won, closed loss data over the last month with the gong calls, toss them into a 1 million token context window, and then just ask the question. Find the pain that converts. Thank you.
Are we live here? Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Andy. All right, our next speaker is Jenna Potter, founder and CEO of Cormier-Iijima. Jenna is a former head of marketing turned marketing engineer and empowers brands by scaling their competitive intelligence. In a world where AI is becoming more and more capable, there's one problem that remains surprisingly human, and that's making AI sound like us. Jenna specializes in bridging this gap with her brands, focusing on AI brand, voice, and context. So tonight, Jenna will be sharing about how AI skills are only as strong as their context. Please welcome Jenna to the stage.
Hello everyone, thanks so much for having me here. Like mentioned, I'm Jenna, and this time last year I was an in-house marketer at a software company, and my resources were very limited, so I had to quickly learn how to build AI agents, and I started sharing them on LinkedIn, which led me to starting my own company, leaving that role, and now I do this full time. I help in-house marketing teams build AI agents, and I also have the media business side as well. So I'm going to teach you how to create a brand brain so that you're not creating AI slop. So AI made it easy to create content at scale, and that's what everyone is doing now. They're creating as much content as they can because they don't need a 100-person team to create thousands of pieces of content per month. But the problem is that it all sounds the same now, and I think you know what I mean. When you're scrolling on LinkedIn, when you're looking at a blog, it's the same type of writing, the same point of view, and you really can't differentiate between one brand to another because it's all created with Claude and ChatGPT, and it's essentially the same thing. Now they've called it AI slop because it's so prevalent that they have to create a new term for it. And I know you probably don't love reading it, you don't want to waste your time reading it, but you feel this pressure to use AI to make your content and make your marketing campaigns, but you don't want to be the person that people are tuning out because it just sounds AI generated. So I was scrolling LinkedIn the other day and I saw this post from the head of marketing at Doist, and it stopped me in my tracks because she perfectly captured what it's like to read AI content on LinkedIn. And it's something that you don't outwardly comment on someone's post unless you're very vocal that, hey, this is AI slop, I don't want to read this. Most people are just silently scrolling past and they're losing trust in your brand. next time they see your face on the feed or your brand, they're going to ignore it because they know that what you're creating is AI generated and it's obvious to them, so they don't actually trust your point of view. They don't trust that you have the expertise to actually teach them or for them to pay you to do something for them. So the problem isn't prompting better, the problem isn't waiting for the better model to come out. Fable won't help you create won't help you not create AI slop. If you're still just using the same prompting method, just talking to ChatGPT or Claude, no matter what model you use, it's all going to sound the same as everyone else unless you have context, your unique point of view, your unique data that you spent years collecting, your customer calls, your customer feedback, even your internal conversations on Slack is excellent material to feed into the AI engines to create content that doesn't sound AI generated. All right, so 6 months ago, I started posting regularly on LinkedIn and YouTube. And I use AI to create pretty much everything I make. And because of my AI brand brain that I created and that I continue to grow, it's not just a stagnant brand brain that just stays there and is static from 6 months ago. It's constantly listening to everything I do and it's updated. So this is something that people don't expect whenever they create anything with AI, is that you have to invest a lot of time up front. So it's not just going to be 5 minutes of, telling AI be friendly, or, just telling it what words not to use. You have to build your own slop detector. There's no other better way to say this, but it's essentially a Claude skill that's trained on all of these AI tells. And it tells the AI what's true about you, so it's based on your real data. You're connecting your actual tools to Claude and ChatGPT through MCPs, and it's pulling this data live. And the most important thing is that you make it accessible across to your whole organization. So some people are very AI literate in your organization, and some people are not. So make this accessible to everyone. And then once you get a little bit more advanced, you should be creating multiple context files for different use cases in your business. So not one size fits all, but context files for different audiences, context files for different products you have, or different campaigns. And then make sure that that's always on. So it's always pulling from your Slack, your sales calls. So I have mine pulling from Granola. So every week it looks at my last week of sales calls and it updates my context files based on the real language people are using. And you can build this inside of Claude, Claude Code if you use Claude Code or ChatGPT or Gemini, whatever AI tool you use, you can build this. And of course, you need to do human editing as well. So whenever you build anything AI, it shouldn't be just build it and then ship it. You need to make sure that you're looking back and editing it to make sure that it matches. And I built a brand brain builder, just a Claude skill that you can download, and it'll run you through an interview process. So you can create your own brand brain in about 5 minutes. So I'll leave that up so you can. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jenna. All right, our next speaker of the evening is Sam. Sam is co-founder and CTO of Fellow. At Fellow, Sam leads the technical vision behind their note-taker companion. However, Sam's team recently has been exploring how AI agents can go from being an assistant to a true teammate. So tonight we're going to be hearing about Coda, Fellow's internal AI teammate. We're going to hear firsthand about what it takes to give an AI agent real responsibility within a growing business. Please welcome Sam.
Can I use this one?
All right, how's everyone doing? Good. My computer's not doing very good. All right, big thank you to AGIV, to Ottawa for hosting us. Like Corey mentioned, I'm the co-founder and CTO of Fellow. And we actually started here in Invest Ottawa almost 9 years ago. Almost 10 years ago. So it's been quite the journey, but nice to be back here. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about Coda, which is something that we built internally. It's an AI teammate. I guess I'll just start first with a bit of background on what Fellow is and talk about how things have changed for us and our software development process in the last year. A lot has changed. And then I'll talk a bit more about Coda and the specifics on how we built that. Just a quick pitch on Fellow. It's an enterprise-grade AI agent for your meetings. We're really focused on privacy and security and giving you the best and most accurate summaries on the market. And we've seen a lot of interest recently because people are realizing that in order for AI agents to work well, they need to have access to good context. That's the same thing that's been said so far tonight. And the best source of context in a lot of cases is what's being discussed in your meetings. And so people are finding that it's really important to be digitizing that and capturing that. So the way that we build software at Fellow has changed a lot in the past year. I'll talk about some of the things that we've done right, I think, and some mistakes, as well as what we're thinking about now going forward. So some of the big changes I think that we've made, one is we really focused on building a shared context, shared knowledge, and systems that are accessible to everyone. So we make tools available, things like our internal dashboard, our data warehouse. These are all tools that are accessible to everyone within the company, and making those available has really helped. And encouraging experimentation and ownership. So we did hackathons to try to encourage people to learn how to use these AI tools. And we talk about them at our town halls weekly. And also, we changed how we structure our engineering team. One trend that we've kind of been seeing is individual contributors are now having to learn the skills that managers have because they're managing teams of agents. But on the flip side, we also see managers that are moving back to being ICs. So actually the former CTO of Shopify, I think, announced that he was moving to be an executive IC is the term. So we're seeing kind of this collapse of roles. So one of the changes that we made was that we're seeing flatter organizations. Managers can have bigger teams. And so the collaboration between product, engineering, QA, design, we made some changes around there. Happy to talk more about those, but I'll try to get more quickly to Coda. Some of the things we got wrong, we made some technical decisions last year, back when the models were not quite as good as they are. They were still very good, but they've improved a lot since. But we made some decisions based on the current capabilities of the models. We kind of overfit and not looking ahead with the expectation that they would keep improving, which I think that's been the case for the past 2 years. So we should probably keep that expectation that it'll also get cheaper as well. So we kind of shifted our tech stack. If you use Lovable or Bolt, any dashboard that you make uses a stack called Tailwind and ChatCN, and we wanted to kind of move our tech stack to be more on distribution so that models could code better with that. I don't know that I would make the same decision now because now the models are much better at in-context learning. And we also decided at the end of last year to include a question about AI usage as part of 360 performance reviews. And we were also looking at token usage dashboards, and I think that caused a lot of, I don't think it was the right lens to be looking at adoption. It's about encouraging people, not really not forcing it. And so the end goal that we actually care about is results. Are you shipping high quality features? Are you fixing bugs? We have less bugs, not just how much are you using AI that can be gained. And then where we're headed is to think about software engineering. I think we're going to start thinking about it more as industrial engineering, so lessons from factories, building closed loops. The coding is less of the bottleneck now, so the other pieces, QA, testing, deployment, reviews, those are where we're starting to see more bottlenecks. And investing in making sure that people know how to use these securely. So yeah, I'll get to, I'll start talking about Coda now, which is this internal teammate that lives in Slack. And we came at it from a couple different angles. So actually at the start of this year, we had 3 different people working on the same problem because we were facing, but from different angles. So we had an initial version that we had built last year called Beethoven, and that was helping us deploy. And then at the start of this year, we tried a couple of different approaches. We actually ended up building 6 different versions before we landed on what became Coda. And one of those versions was actually just running OpenClaw, which I don't know that I would do now. I probably wouldn't touch OpenClaw with a 10-foot pole. But one of the main decisions we were making, and the question that we had was, is the way that people at Fellow use AI assistants is that each person gets their own, so each person can connect it to their email, gets their own open cloud basically that they can have it answer their emails or help them, or is it a shared resource for the entire team? And we landed on the latter, and I think that was the right call. We actually saw, is anyone here at Shopify? I don't know. But they announced recently that they had built something called River, which actually we had done before and with the very same design. So I think it's the right call, because when it's working in the open and it works in public channels, those learnings are shared. Everyone can see and jump in and help. In terms of architecture, it was built, we tried a couple different sandboxes. We tried exec on the modal. We ended up just running on a regular EC2 instance. It's using PyAgent. I think Kai mentioned that at the beginning. It's the thing that actually powers OpenClaw. It's a very customizable agent framework. On top of that, we have the soul, that's from OpenClaw, skills, which it mostly builds itself, memory. The heartbeat is the thing that every 30 minutes it can go in and check Slack channels, see what's happened, update knowledge, and so on. It has a full copy of all of our repos, our code base, and that's in order to be able to actually answer product questions. So when somebody on the sales team asks a question about how Fellow works, it doesn't look at some documentation that might be out of date. It actually goes straight to the source code, reads it, and figures out how to answer that question from the source of truth. And finally, Canvas is able to host dashboards or other visualizations and mockups. And what's cool with Coda is that one of the properties of it is that it's self-modifying. It's the initial version I built with Cloud Code, but after that, once it was kind of bootstrapped, in order to change it, you just talk to it on Slack and it changes its own code. It manages all of its own skills and memories, and it's maintained by the team. So if someone on the team notices it does something wrong, or it thinks it should do something different, they just tell it to do that, and then it learns and it starts doing that. It also maintains its own infra, which is kind of cool. This is just a screenshot I thought I would show of the actual what the workspace interface looks like. I don't know. I probably won't have time to do like a live demo, but we can talk about that later. And what's actually the coolest feature that we did with Coda is this thing called a canvas. And so Coda has a full UI toolkit of our product that it can use. And so now we're seeing that our designers or even people on the sales team can go in and have this collaborative chat where it's kind of like cloud design or some of these lovable things, but it's very collaborative and it has all of our best practices already in place. And so, sales team will come here, have an idea for something, and then they can actually share that as a prototype. It's changed a lot of how we send ideas back and forth. We actually just send the prototype first to get feedback and then collaborate on that. And we use Coda for that. And then where Coda is headed next, we want to integrate it into even more product development systems that we have. Give it the ability to record videos, which it doesn't do today, but actually record a video of it using itself. Actually on this, what's very cool is the closed loop. So it takes a screenshot, it builds its UI, takes a screenshot and feeds it back and keeps iterating on that by default. That's not something I think a lot of other tools do. I haven't seen any that have that built in. So and set so importantly, but this actually it makes it work very well. Next up is also having it sync knowledge across repos. So right now it's knowledge, it's kind of specific to Coda. We want it to sync across everything. And then possibly extract the substrate, the harness, and separate that from the sandbox so that we can build other similar agents on top of that without having to rebuild everything separately. Just some takeaways from what we've used Coda for. I think it's important to pick tools if you're making decisions on what tools to use at your company. Really important to look at ones that work well with agents. So whether that's MCP or they have a good API, I think that's kind of is a baseline. You just need those things. Otherwise, these agents are not going to be effective. And really focusing on making sure that the systems of knowledge and context of those are shared and that they're updated and that they're well maintained. And then just to experiment, learn, and to keep iterating. And that's it.
This is actually I can, yeah. Should I do a quick demo? Yeah.
So this runs inside our Tailscale network. Does anyone use Tailscale or familiar? Yeah, very good. I highly recommend. So it's accessible only to people within the company. Let's see. So the sessions here, you can actually see all the sessions that it's been working on, and you can go into this and start a new one. And this is using that same high agent. They come with a UI framework as well. So you can ask it very similar to you would with Claude or ChatGPT, except that it's already connected and anyone has access to all of these systems of record, like our CRM or data dashboard. Some analytics on how much it's been used. I think in the past week, you can see how much its heartbeat is running, specific canvases that it has, token breakdown. We switched it recently to Opus 4.8. And I'll show the coolest part, which is this canvas. So let me find one. Here's one that I worked on.
Curious if they're using straight API costs or pass through such a subscription. Like this is expensive.
I'm on the hotspot, so it's slow. Here's another example. So this one, it's actually connected into our experimentation platform, and we can have it show which flags that we have. We had a big push to try to remove some of these flags and have less. And so this, it can read this dashboard and start new sessions about, this flag is no longer used by anyone, we should probably clean this up. So kind of have it work in the background and do cleanup work. I'll leave it at that. There's more I can show. Thanks.
Thank you, Sam. All right, our final speaker of the evening is Ugo, Lead AI Deployment Engineer at Writer. Ugo works with enterprise organizations to deploy and scale AI in production. We all know how powerful a singular agent can be. As they become more integrated, the key challenge we face is orchestrating them across businesses effectively. So with that, Ugo will be talking to us about orchestrating agents at scale in production. Please welcome Ugo to the stage.
Well, thank you everyone, and thank you to the organizers, AGI Ventures, as well as the Best Hour for this incredible event. Really appreciate it, so thank you. So today I'm going to be talking about something that has been kind of keeping me up at night, because that's sort of what I do every single day, is thinking through how to actually get enterprise AI projects into production. And McKinsey recently came up with this study that I think it was, and both McKinsey and MIT have different studies, but essentially the consensus is that 95% of enterprise AI projects never get into production, which is insane if you kind of think about it, right? Because we're all using AI, we're all seeing all these amazing models, all these amazing agent harnesses that can do some incredible stuff, but why is it they're not really getting into production? What is the reason why they're getting into production? That's what we're going to be talking about today. And interestingly, if you look on LinkedIn, you would see that this year was the year of agents. So they're not quite making it into production yet. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So I deploy agents into production at Ryder. Currently, I do deployment engineering, and my job is to basically work with different customers to put different solutions into solve different problems. Now, cuts across different sort of sectors, like financial services, healthcare, marketing capabilities as well, things that we work on. If you're not familiar with Ryder, we're basically a platform for building agents. And essentially, we work with very large enterprises, so Vanguard, Templeton, Goldman, Uber. And what's very, very challenging about putting AI into production is what I'm going to be taking a look at right now. So, first and foremost, I want to describe what I believe an agent is, because we talk about agents quite a lot, and I hope you agree with me. So basically, an agent is essentially, for those who don't know, I'm sure a lot of people understand what agents are, but essentially an agent is basically a model that can reason, plan, and act. Essentially, very simply, that's what you do. You can kind of get into the sort of semantics about running a loop and all of this type of things. But essentially, they need some set of instructions to walk through. They need to be able to reason, and they need to be able to use tools that are within, that they've been given access to be able to solve different problems. But interestingly, this year, we started to see that agents have taken a huge leap, because they've been given computers, and that's what we call the agent harness. So you think about Claude Code, you think about Codex, these are agent harnesses. And they can do incredible things. When you babysit them through doing those things, they can do amazing things. And we've seen that coding is largely solved as a result. So I haven't coded in almost a year now, because the models are getting much better, and still my productivity is increasing. So it means that this thing actually works. But why doesn't it work when it comes to putting actual stuff that helps enterprises into production? So the reason is very, very simple, and I'm so glad that it came up in every single talk we just listened to. Context. Everyone talks about context. Context is so difficult. And if you've kind of been around the block in the ecosystem of technology, you know that through all the projects around AI, around transformation, you try to know that one of the problems has always been how to keep your data clean. So whether it was during the cloud era, where we were moving to the cloud, or right now with AI, context is a very, very big problem. So I find that a lot of the times, the AI model itself is not a problem. The harness is no longer a problem because this harness is amazing. It's just the fact that the context isn't quite where it needs to be. It's probably not available in the right format, so you have to think about cleaning it up, you have to make sure that you're passing the right context in, things of that nature. The next thing that we see is governance. A lot of AI applications right now that are in pilots have not really taken into account some of the core security requirements that are required to put something into production. Now, I mentioned this earlier on when he talked about open weights or open source models, which are becoming interesting for a lot of people. So when you have a closed source model as an example, and you're trying to put that into production in certain regulated industries, they might come up and say, your government people might say, I'm not quite sure how bias is handled in your model, or I'm not quite sure if your model is secure enough to keep my trading strategies or whatever it might be away from competitors and stuff like that. So governance becomes a huge blocker as to why people are not getting into production. The other piece is the wrong people are in the room. I have a very small story. I'm working on a project right now that is around medical record summarization. So take a bunch of medical records, extract information from them, and insurance companies use this to determine whether someone is eligible for a claim or not. So this is a high stakes thing. You have to meet very, very high bars of accuracy and things like that. But the very first sprint in the project, the product manager was staffed on the project, but had very, very little context about the end-to-end process. So the project wasn't really going anywhere. And then after a few weeks, we bring someone who's like a domain expert who understood the end-to-end, who understood what the inputs are, understood what good looks like, understands what bad looks like as well, and that sort of helped the project to start moving along. So this is such a critical aspect of what can make a project fail when it doesn't have the right people in the room actually being able to provide a context that is required to actually get the project moving along. So I want to talk to you today about how I go about it. This is just based on my own experience. So how do I think about going from 0 to 1 to scale? Because you have to start from 0. And starting from 0 is finding the problem, understanding the problem very, very well, understanding what the outcomes should look like, understanding the value that you're going to be bringing when you solve this particular problem. I want to make the first agent work, and once you do that, I want to scale it. So, it's a very, very simple thing, but you'd be very surprised at how this is such a huge problem in most projects. How to define what done looks like, and this is so critical for agents. If your agent doesn't quite know what done looks like, then very, very unlikely that you're going to be getting anything meaningful in production. So I think a use case like writing a fund commentary. So portfolio manager has access to all these funds they manage. They have to understand all the companies in that fund. They have to go look through all their filings. They have to look at their 10Ks, 8Qs, whatever it might be. They have to look at external information about each of the companies in that portfolio or in that fund to make a determination about the performance of the fund or predict what the performance of the fund could look like. This typically would take someone about 2 to 3 weeks to kind of understand that and write a really comprehensive fund commentary, and we're able to help them to go from 2 weeks to a few minutes for the first draft at the very least. So, and what we were able to do was work with those guys and download exactly what their problems were and what they do on a day-to-day basis, and then try to codify that into a skill where we pass the agent to be able to do the work. But it started with really being able to get very crisp about what the problem was and being able to solve it as a result. Alright, so what that means is that if you're able to decompose the work very, very cleanly into easily understandable steps, then good things tend to happen. So the first thing you want to think about is what starts this particular agent. So that could be a human being going and clicking a button. It could be something that runs on a schedule. It could be something that is triggered by a specific event that happens within your organization. So maybe for onboarding, as an example, a new client has been onboarded. That's an event. We're going to react to this event. Each of these events will have some data associated with it, which is context, and we use that to take steps to actually lead to a certain outcome. And once you can decompose this, you're usually on the right track towards building a really good agent. So this sort of mental model, as simple as it is something that I follow quite a lot and has been successful for me. Like I mentioned earlier on, context is where everything is, and I try to simplify things. If you haven't noticed, I try to always simplify things for myself first before I try to build. So I realized that if I simplify what context actually means, to me it means what happened, what needs to happen, and how to get it done. And when I define it in this way, it makes it much easier for me to be able to comprehend how to manage my context. Context management is so critical for the success of scaling your agent, and here's why. One, obviously for the accuracy reason that we talk about. Two is because it's also very, very related to cost. I don't think I need to bore you with all the news around how much people are spending on tokens and how crazy this thing is getting. I think Uber recently mentioned that they had burned through their engineering budget almost like 2 quarters in, on tokens and that's crazy. Like we're talking millions and millions of dollars. We're talking about a company that mistakenly lost $500 million to tokens spend. A lot of what that is really not really curating your context, because you're letting the agent sort of run wild sometimes. And it decides how to kind of solve a particular problem. If the context is not clean, if you're not thinking through that particular approach of curating your context, then it's very, very likely that you're going to kind of get inefficient processes running by your agent. All right, so you have the right context. You've created an agent. Every time it runs, before you actually determine whether this thing is going into production or not, you need to ask yourself a few questions. The cool kids, the very smart ones, will call them evals. But I just like to simplify it and say, was it accurate? What did it cost? And how long did it take? So the very first time you try to build an agent, I think you can expect that it might not run very, very efficiently, which is fine, but of course you want it to be accurate. If it wasn't running efficiently, okay, you can always go back and tweak and optimize and refine to get to where you want to get to. I think we saw that in the Kodak example about how much it's iteration to get to the final outcome of that particular agent. All right, so now when it runs one time, we want to now scale it. So how are we should be thinking about scaling? So I think about these paradigms when I think about how a team should be able to use an agent. The very first one is one that is very common to us, which is the way we get work done, which is typically through Kanban boards. So we have a task board where humans and agents can live. So I was actually showing Harry this a few days ago for some of the projects I'm running. I decided to create a task board. It's a really cool project out there called Symphony that was published at Cormier-Iijima. You should check it out, which kind of details a lot about this particular concept. The idea is that you have a task board and you have a bunch of tasks. That task can be assigned to a human or can be assigned to an agent. The agent picks up the task, runs through the task. When it's done, it puts it in a particular status. The human can review and then provide feedback, and you can move along with it. The other piece is obviously events. I talked about that earlier on. So email received, run triage agent, whatever that might be, on a schedule, or it's embedded in a workflow. It is very interesting that as amazing as agents are, the most widely deployed agents are actually agentic workflows. So workflows that include agents. not everything needs to be an autonomous agent. Not everything needs to be. Some agents are perfectly fine as background agents that are part of your entire process. Wake up, do the work, go back to bed. So having them embedded in your workflow is something that can be interesting. Now, in all of these projects, what I have seen is that the people who won, or the projects that eventually got into production, were the people who were focused obsessively about solving the problem, about solving a specific problem, and that allowed them to scope very, very well. It allowed them to really hone in on that specific steps that they wanted to solve for and solve it. Those people who understood their context, they knew exactly what their data looked like, they knew what state it needed to be in. There were people who also took feedback very, very seriously. One of the things that I did recently with one of the projects I was working on was to build a feedback application inside the agent itself, so you could immediately give immediate feedback, which fed back into the system, give it all that feedback to continue to sort of self-correct and self-improve itself. And of course, the right people were in the room as well. Now, above all of that, I think the thing that struck me was also this beginner mindset, a willingness to experiment. I think this is very, very important because we are all learning how to do this at this point. No one can really claim that they're like a 10-year expert at building agents at this point, right? So we're all learning. So having that beginner's mindset, being experimental, is something that is so critical to being successful. But ultimately, agents scale when the context scales. So invest in your context, invest in making sure that all of the data is in the right order. Take that time to go clean up your data, clean up systems of records where information lives, and I think good things will happen when you do that. So that's my talk for today, and hopefully give you a good mental model of how to think about getting agents into production. Thank you.
Thank you, Ugo. All right, I now welcome all of our speakers to the stage, and we'll get started for our panel.